Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering the rest of the anniversary box new card reveals. I think a lot of them are better than people give them credit for, which makes this a slightly better product than people think. But overall, I mean, just speaking on the reprints quickly, I definitely think they could have taken the opportunity to pick some more sought after reprints. Like Demigod is a good one, for example. I am actually looking forward to all the super combo reprints because the artwork looks sick. But yeah, a couple more sought after cards could have gotten reprinted here. But I do think some of the cards they're printing for the archetypes, the new cards, are a bit better than people think. So that being said, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. If you guys want to help support the channel, many links down below, especially if you want to buy or pre-order any TCG cards for that matter. Use the link to TCG Player, it does help the channel out. Anyways, let's get right into the video. Talking about Shugesh, Power of Unity first. It is a super combo for the blue Bardock's crew archetype, and there are actually a lot of super combos in this box that support various different archetypes. So permanent, this card will be removed from the combo area, removed from the game instead, just eliminating any reusability on the card. Auto limit 1. If your leader's a blue Bardock's crew card and your life's at 3 or less, and you have 3 or more energy, lots of restrictions there. When this card is using a combo from your hand, choose up to one mono blue Bardock card with energy cost of 5 or less in your hand, and play it in rest mode. So this is obviously meant to play out the 5-drop Bardock boss monster that came out all the way back in Clash of Fates, which I do actually think is a pretty decent card. It's a barrier card, 25k beater, and every single time it switches to active mode during either player's turn, your opponent chooses a card in their hand and places it on the bottom of the deck. That archetype and that deck has always basically revolved around how easy or difficult it is to play that 5-drop, and this is another way to do it, which is pretty cool. Now, I wouldn't say you're going to play 4 copies of Shugesh, because how many times can you realistically play that 5-drop Bardock in a game? And what's really nice about Blue Bardock's crew is it does have a lot of searchability within the archetype, so it should be relatively findable. I'd say you'd probably play 2 of this and 2 of some super combo that draws. Now, I do think that leader is going to need some type of reboot leader possibly, but I actually think if they got a card like Results of Training for the archetype itself, that leader could actually be really good, because he essentially crits a life to negate an attack. So the problem with that leader is if you do that at super low life, you start putting yourself in really dangerous territory. But if you can resolve that effect, like maybe your 6th and 5th life, let's just say, that makes that leader actually a whole lot better. So that'd be a pretty cool thing to see. Just kind of something I've been thinking about, because I really do like the Bardock's crew archetype. So yeah, anyways, we'll move on. We have King Cold, Blessing of the Clan, so another super combo. Same permanent, it leaves combo area, it gets removed from game instead. Auto limit 1 if your leader cards are red, Frieza BR card, your life's at 3 or less, and it's your opponent's turn. When this card is using a combo from your hand, the next time you would activate a mono red extra card with an original energy cost of 3 or less this turn, reduce its activation cost by 1 red. So Frieza Prison finally gets a playable super combo, and this one is actually really good for the deck because you get to reduce the cost of an extra card, and you're playing a red control deck that uses a lot of extra cards. Like imagine comboing this and then immediately using a free Frieza's Death Ball. So 10k from this, 15k from Frieza's Death Ball, that's 25k for free. Also minus 10 your opponent's leader or one of their battle cards. That is insane value. So if you guys are, I know that Frieza Prison has like a pretty big, like I would say, cult following. So this is obviously a card that's gonna make a lot of Frieza Prison players very happy. They actually have access to a super combo, and no, it doesn't draw, which Frieza Prison actually draws an insane amount of cards on its own. So having this super combo that does something else that also benefits the archetype is actually really good. So another good card in my opinion. Then we have Bardock Resurrected Lineage. This card, maybe not so good. So we have 1-drop 5k. This is basically meant to replace Bardock the Progenitor. Doesn't do a great job of it, but let's give it a read. So swap to limit 1 into a Goku's lineage with an energy cost of 2. So you can only activate swap on this guy once per turn because of the limit 1, which would have been a really good restriction on Bardock the Progenitor. But anyways, auto limit 1 when this card's played. This card gets 5,000 power for the turn. Then choose one of your opponent's skillless battle cards in rest mode and KO it. So the fact that it's a 1-drop with removal is not terrible. It does have to be a skillless battle card, and there are many more ways in yellow now to turn your opponent's battle cards into skillless battle cards. We just saw a bunch with the yellow Broly archetype yesterday, so that's doable, but it's still a bit convoluted. So yeah, is this card going to bring back Storm? I mean, definitely not. I don't think anything could bring back Storm. I don't even think Bardock the Progenitor could bring back Storm, because you know, we just have such simple ways to deal with like 15k spam now. That's one of the reasons why the green Boo deck is not so great. That deck is pretty much 15k spam, but you got to do some more stuff than that to be a pretty threatening aggro deck in the current meta. So cool card, nice that it replaces Bardock Progenitor, I guess. Not the best thing I've ever seen though. Then we have Lord Slug, Conqueror's Claim. 3-drop 19k permanent. If you have 3 or more energy, this card gains dual attack. If your leader card Slug's Armory card and all of your energy is mono green, when this card's played from your hand, you and your opponent draw 1. So it's some support for that deck out by drawing Slug type of strategy. Auto Bond 2, when this card attacks, your opponent has 7 or more cards in hand. This card gets 6,000 power for the battle. So that can trigger on both of its dual attacks, 25k. You can cheat this out, but you really don't want to cheat it out until turn 3 just to get the dual attack. I mean, you can somewhat cheat it out earlier to get you and your opponent to draw, which is okay, I guess. Card's decent. I don't think it's making Slug any more, I don't even want to say relevant than it already is. Then we have Bulma to Incite a Sneeze. Now this card is such a weird design, but let's read it. So 1-drop 1k, unique barrier, auto limit 1. If your leader cards are red earthling only with 10,000 power or less, when a card in your life is flipped face up by one of your red card skills, you may play this card from your hand. If you do, choose to one of your red unison cards with 1,000 power and 2 markers or less, add a marker to it, and you can't play multicolored battle cards for the game. That's so funny that they felt like they had to include this, because both Bulma and Launch play multicolor cards, more so Launch playing, you know, red, blue, and red, green cards. Bulma occasionally plays like the red, green Gogeta Arrival or something like that, like the red, green Nappa super combo is also a good example. But yeah, the fact that they wanted this to basically support Launch, like pure Launch, which has never really seen competitive play, and lock you out of playing multicolors is a pretty funny thing. The second auto, if your leader card's a red earthling only card with 10,000 power or less, when a face-up red battle card in your life is played, it gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. So even if this card wasn't restricted from that multicolor restriction, I don't even think this would be playable in the deck. I really just don't think you'd play it, because you don't really play the Bulma unison in Launch anyway. So they didn't even have to go and put that restriction on it, but they did. The card not going to be that great in typical meta Launch, in my opinion. Might be decent for the more themed, fun version of the deck, though. Quick Growing Saibamen, 1-drop 4k permanent. You can include as many copies of this card in your deck as you like, as we've seen with other Saibamen cards. Auto when this card's KO'd, choose one of your opponent's unison cards, gets minus 10,000 power for the turn. That's kind of nice. I've played a decent amount of Nappa, more so when it was revealed. I wanted to test it out. And you have a pretty good time, like, making sure you can pop your Saibamen, even though this guy, for example, doesn't have blocker. But you can KO him in other ways, and this one actually gives you interaction with unisons, which only minus 10k isn't the greatest when you're dealing with like bigger unisons, but there are a fair amount of unisons that are like in the 10k to 5k power range. Like, think about Green Demigra, think about Red Jiren. This will be pretty good in those matchups. I don't think you'll play a ton of these Saibamen, but it actually even gives Nappa a decent like side deck option too, which is kind of neat. This card is like okay for its respective archetype, and Nappa is definitely one that needs more support. It actually also got a red-green card in set 14 as well that basically ignores energy exhaust, so that's another great thing the deck has going for it, as well as the ability to play the SS3 Gohan red-green boss monster. Really good card that can only be played in red, Saiyan leader decks, so something unique that Nappa has going for it. Maybe some more support in the future can help that archetype out a bit. Then we have Metacooler Matting Multiplication. I feel like every single anniversary box wants to do Metacooler support. I think at this point they just, oh, they did actually reboot the leader, which didn't actually help all that much. Maybe they need to go in a different direction. But anyways, 1-drop auto if the leader cards are Metacooler or Metacooler Core. If you have 2 or more energy and you don't have a unison card in play, when this card's played from your hand, choose one Metacooler Core Giant Force in your hand and play it with a marker on it in rest mode. Okay, here's something I want to kind of mention, where you have an archetype like Metacooler that's never been meta relevant, and maybe they're not trying to make it meta relevant. Maybe they're trying to allow people who like Metacooler to have more fun, which is cool. But when you have an archetype that's been this historically irrelevant, maybe it's okay to let them play their unison from the deck with this card. You know what I mean? Like, the fact you have to have it in hand makes you take a -1 from the hand, whereas you could have fetched the unison from the deck, and it could have been a cool little unique thing the archetype had going for it. But anyways, activate main limit 1. If your leader card is a Metacooler or Metacooler Core card, place up 2 infinite multiplication Metacoolers from your deck to your drop, then shuffle your deck. That's actually not bad at all, because you do need your multiplication Metacoolers in the drop to bring them back from the grave. So that is pretty good, admittedly, for that type of archetype. But again, 15k span, not going to be super meta relevant, but I do think that players who enjoy Metacooler at like a local level will get some good benefit out of this card. Then we have Ginyu, former Galactic Elite, 1-drop 4k. When this card's played, draw 1. So right off the bat, that's the Line Frieza support. Activate main limit 1 if leader card is a yellow Frieza card, literal power of 5,000, or Frieza Resurrected, and you switch this card to rest mode. Choose up to one of your mono yellow Frieza army or unison cards in your hand and add it to your life face up. If you do, draw one card, then place one card from your life in your drop area at the end of the turn. So this is actually direct support for the set 12 yellow Frieza archetype. I think people call it life flip Frieza. Never really saw much momentum as an archetype, but it is a cool concept nonetheless, and they actually have a lot of free ways to tap things with the field card. So that deck getting more support, if the format maybe slows down a bit, that could be a pretty interesting archetype to explore. It does have actually a pretty good boss monster. Tap 5, wipe all your opponent's battle cards that are in rest mode, and then I believe if they activate a counter, you can lock down 2 of their energy going into the next turn. Pretty decent, so more support, definitely not a bad thing there. Then we have some more specific support. This is actually pretty much for the old Goku Black leader, which is one of the very few leaders that is, still remains that inherently ramps. So let's see what this stuff does. Zamasu Teamwork Undying. We have a 3-drop 19k unison with blocker and counter attack, but it costs spirit boost too though. So you have to take 2 markers off a blue unison, then you can negate the attack and play this card with 4 markers on it. That's a little bit awkward, honestly, that you already have to have a unison in play. And I'm assuming this just goes right over the unison, and that unison you had in play goes to the drop area if its markers didn't go to 0 from the spirit boost. But yeah, that makes things a little bit clunky and a little bit weird if you're playing too many unisons. But anyways, activate main, pay 2 blue. If there's a Goku Black under this card and you remove 7 markers from this card and place it in the owner's drop area, choose up to 1 Infinite Force Fuse Zamasu in your hand or energy area and play it. That's a pretty cool effect, to be honest, because that boss monster is actually insane. Like, something along the lines of when it attacks, you choose like a life and energy, I think a battle card and a card from their hand, all of which go to the bottom of the opponent's decks, and it's indestructible. So that is pretty insane. Obviously, it's relatively difficult to play it still because you have to have 7 markers. We'll see some other ways to put markers on it in just a second. Auto in this card, when a card in your energy area is placed in the owner's drop area, draw 1 card, then switch this card to active mode. So this effect actually works for both the set 10 Zamasu leader as well as the set 2 Goku Black leader, both of which will be discarding energy and putting them to the drop. So that's kind of interesting. Goku Black works undone, 2-drop 15k permanent. When choosing cards in your life using the activate main skill on your blue Goku Black only card, you may choose this card in your battle area instead. So you can basically, I guess, play this and then use it to ramp with your leader instead of essentially, I don't know, critting yourself a life, let's just say. Auto limit 1, choose a card in your hand and discard it. When this card's played, flip over up to 1 of your blue Goku Black only leader cards, and you can't play non-Zamasu or non-Goku Black battle cards for the game. So this is a pretty cool play you can do here. So you basically play this card for 2, you discard 1, and then you put your leader back to its unawakened side. So then you can ramp again, and you can use this card as your ramp again instead of critting a life. And then you can awaken again to get 2 more draws and then swing, get another draw. So the 2 draws you get from awakening basically replace this card and the discard cost for it. So it's not like some crazy amount of draw power or anything, but it is a pretty cool play you can do. I do really think this card could have used deflect though. Not that, 2 drops are super easy to interrupt, but they can be interrupted depending on what your opponent's playing. But a cool concept nonetheless. Not perfectly executed, but a cool concept. Activate main limit 1. If later card's a Goku Black only card, you choose 1 Zamasu Teamwork Undying in your unison area. Add a marker to the chosen card. Then place this card from it, under it from your battle area. So you do have to get this card underneath the Zamasu in order to use Zamasu's activate main. I am curious if there's another way to do that, because I would like to not have to spend 2 energy on this card, to be honest, in like a set 10 Zamasu deck, but we'll have to see. We'll have to explore, see if there's other ways to do that. Super Saiyan Rose, Goku Black, Apocal Schemer. We have a 4-drop 20k, Energy Exhaust, Deflect, Double Strike. Great stats there. Auto, at the end of your turn, switch 1 of your blue-yellow multicolor energy to active mode. Auto, when this card's played from your hand, play 4 shadow tokens. They gain blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. They have 10,000 power, 0 combo cost, and 5,000 combo power. You already know I'm going to be trying this card in blue-yellow Gohan Icarus. This is just a really good card nonetheless. Good in blue-yellow versions of Goku Black Zamasu, good in blue-yellow decks in general, like blue-yellow Soul Striker, blue-yellow Gohan Icarus, even Mecha Frieza, for those of you that are still playing blue-yellow. So yeah, very cool card to see. And then finally, we have some support for Gogeta Ramp. This is kind of interesting. So let's read the Veku first. Blocker, Union Fusion for 2. You draw 2 cards, so you basically immediately replace whatever you used to fuse. If your leader card's a blue sand card, and when this card's removed from your battle area by a skill or KO'd, you may add 1 card from your life to your hand. then play up to 1 Gogeta Pursuit of Power from your deck or drop area with 3 markers on it, then shuffle your deck if you looked through it. Somewhat interesting. I do like how it's a fusion that replaces itself, and it can play a unison to your board, but Gogeta Pursuit of Power is not necessarily an excellent unison by any means, so I'm not too sure about this card. The Goku and the Vegeta, though, much more interesting. So we'll go with the Vegeta first. Deflect, counterplay, play this card. During your opponent's turn, reduce energy cost this card in your hand by 1, so it's a 1-drop counterplay. Choose 1 blue Veku BR in your battle area and KO it, so you can choose the original 3-cost blocker, which would get you ramped up. When this card's played from your hand, choose 1 red Goku BR with 10,000 power or less from your deck, play it, then shuffle your deck. So playing a Goku to your board is actually pretty interesting because you can play like one of the 1-drops, for example, which will look at the top 3 for a Vegeta, so that's possibly a +1 there, and the Vegeta also plus you 1, and then the Goku should bounce back to your hand, giving you fusion material, which is really cool. Son Goku might in the making. Firstly, these artworks are absolutely incredible, by the way. If your leader card's a blue sand card, when the card in your hand is placed in your drop area by a Union Fusion skill, activate the skill. At the end of the turn, switch to one of your energy to active mode. Activate battle once per turn. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards. Gets minus 10,000 power for the turn. I don't think the Goku's anything incredible here. I do think the Vegeta is really, really good. So, yeah, I think you'll play the Vegeta with some number of the 1-drop Gokus, making your search power a little bit more intense. I do think that's pretty solid. And then finally, guys, my favorite card from Anniversary Box. Save the best for last. We'll go over the Dyspo first. Unique, auto limit 1. Discard a card from your hand. When this card's played, play up to 1 yellow U11 with energy cost 2 or less from your drop and rest mode with the skills negated for the turn. And then activate battle, pay a yellow if your leader card's mono yellow U11 and it's your opponent's turn. Play this card from hand in rest mode. Honestly, not really anything amazing with the Dyspo in my opinion. The Toppo, though, this card, man, besides the insane artwork, which I'm in love with, the effects are insane. So deflect, critical, blocker. If your leader is a yellow U11 card, when this card is played from your hand, choose 1. You can either play a Unison of Fury Vegeta if you don't have a Unison in play, and play it with 3 markers. So playing it with 3 markers means you can use the Activate main, which is not a marker skill, give it a marker, put it to 4, and then use the -3 immediately. So for 4 energy, you're basically fetching that from the deck and producing a giant 20k critical body. Or if you don't want to play a Unison, you can just have it gain 10k power and double strike for the turn. And then second auto, if it's your turn, when this card switches to rest mode by one of your yellow card skills, switch this card to active mode, then choose all of your opponent's battle cards and negate their skills for the turn. So that is just such a sick play where you get Unison of Fury, use its effect to tap Toppo. It goes to 4 markers. You can use the -3, and Toppo has negated all battle cards on your opponent's board. So if they had any blockers, no more blockers, which is absolutely insane. This card actually breathes life into Yellow Jiren, makes it a really good deck in my opinion. I am testing this deck out a lot. It's super good. But anyways, guys, those are my thoughts. Some good, some bad. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.